for another episode of the Off the Court podcast. We got Kingston Porch, 6'6". You can call him a guard. You can call him a wing. He plays at Skyline Prep out here in Phoenix, Arizona. Appreciate you coming on, man, tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing real good. Just thank you for having me on. Excited.
Of course, man. We very excited to have you on. I know we've been talking for a minute just about your game and having you on, so I'm really interested to get kind of your story too. Let's get right into it. You play at Skyline Prep, which is one of the newer prep schools, it seems like, that's formed over the last couple of years. You just told me before we got on there, it said one of your teams was 8-6. And I'm like, did you guys only play 14 games? You're like, no, we play way more than that.
Way more.
One of the questions I have in a little bit, but for you guys, I don't know what your record was, but how do you feel you and the rest of your team played throughout the year? What was some of the competition you went up against for people that maybe are just finding out about Skyline right now?
Competition, very high. We played top teams, out of state, in state, Enterprise, Dream City, Compass, Southern Cal Academy, schools like that, Trinity Prep. Last year, we were a senior heavy team, but it was more of a local type of setting. And this year, it's going to be a lot way better than it was last year because we got a whole new set of guys, and I'm just one of the few that are returning. So I feel like as of last season, like we did good, but it was like as a team, I feel like we could have done a lot better. But this season, it's going to be way much better than it was last year.
What things did you focus on most throughout the year? You averaged around 13 points, 4 assists. I'm sure you had you sent me a bunch of stuff, like you multiple 25 plus 30-point performances throughout the year. But what things did you focus on most throughout the year with either personal training people or just like the assistant coach and the rest of the coaching staff to make sure you continue to have like evolved your game and continue to grow your game throughout this past season?
I know what I could do on the court. That's it. But just like taking care of my body, staying in the weight room, diet, all that stuff. That definitely does play a big factor. And I've been having to take that a little bit more serious, like as the older I'm getting. So, yeah, I can do as much as I can. Have all this go on the court, but gotta take care of this first.
What are some areas you've seen from your freshman year to now you've seen grow the most? We'll get into it in a bit. I think you're probably one of the more athletic and explosive players we have in the state. So I'm sure the balance is something you've seen grow a lot, but what are some other things you've seen evolve to make you the player you are today?
Oh yeah, so my ability to get to the lane it skyrocketed from freshman year until now. That just came as I got taller and as athleticism just came with it. But yeah, people, I don't want to literally consider myself a slasher. I do slash, but perimeter shooting, that's something I've been doing my whole life since third grade. You leave it open, hand in face, I'm gonna knock it down, and I feel like it's been there. It's been there. It's always been there.
I do want to talk about the kind of the prep route too. I've had, I think, only one other kid on that went to Bella Vista. That's really about it though. But for me, it's like outside of Compass Prep, since they're in like the NIBC, which I know is kind of like the prep league to be in for if you want to be a top-notch player. It seems like, at least in my opinion, prep basketball here, it's extremely interesting. There's a lot of like politics involved, I know, and the schedule seems very, very interesting. Like even the fact like Max Preps has that like Skyline Prep, whatever team it is, only at 14 games. And I'm sure you guys probably played more to around the 30, 35 game mark. But constant transfers coming in and out and everything else between. You, though, have played, your freshman year was at Chandler, and then you've been at Skyline Prep. What are the differences you've seen between the two, specifically in Arizona?
For me, it's a very big transition. So, yeah, the transfer rules and all that. Yeah, it's a lot different. And yeah, the level of competition and like getting yourself out there, the prep is for surely the move. And I see what you do mean about the politics and like all that. It definitely is very heavy. Playing these local teams and not really people know everybody, even if they say they don't. People have heard my name, but that's why I come on here to get my name out a little bit more because I feel like here that's why I've played with more of like an outstate kind of setting, like with the soldiers, so I can get my platform even more outside of AZ because it's more like shied away here. Even the teams you play locally, they don't want to give love, and it's just that's just how it is sometimes. But yeah, the prep route is definitely different than Chandler. I had a pretty okay experience at Chandler, but yeah, like the competition level, you're out here playing. You're not just playing these local dudes. You're playing 4 and 5 stars on a day-to-day basis. So these international players on a day-to-day basis. So you have no choice but to lock in more and improve when you come on this type of level.
Yeah, absolutely. From the stories I've heard and stuff, it's just so weird to me. Like if people ask me, I'm just like, say at your high school, like if you are like a mediocre player at your high school, I don't think you're going to become like a star player at a prep school. And I think one of the, I guess you could say issues I have with prep ball is sometimes guys make the move and sometimes it's for the right reasons. Like I had Winters Grady. He was one of the top players in Oregon. He just moved to prolific prep. He's going to be playing on the national team with AJ and Tyron and everybody. And he was telling me the things of why he made that move. And I'm like, that makes sense. But for some people out here, I see it and they're going from like a small school and they're playing okay. And then they're going to the prep school and then there's another number and never to be seen again, kind of like you are. Like their name is just another name, another number. So that's just the things I've seen that I'm like, if you can stay and average 15 to 20 points a game at your high school, you're probably going to get better looks doing that than you are just because you're at a different prep school. But let's get into kind of what you've been able to do this past summer. You were at the Crossroads Elite Camp and the West Coast Elite Camp before we get into your EYBL stuff like you're talking about with the soldiers. You sent me some past resume stuff too, which I gotta say, you are the only player I've had that has pretty much sent their entire high school resume. So I appreciate it a ton. So let's get into it. Crossroads Elite Invitational, top 40 All-Star camper, out of 400 plus athletes. West Coast Elite Camp, 100, you were a top performer there. You're a two-time Pangos top performer, and day one standout Balls Life All-American top performer and EBC top 8. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Before we get into the EYBL stuff, what were your experiences playing? I'm not really too familiar with the Crossroads Elite. I am with the West Coast Elite, though. What were some takeaways you had? Because I know that is just flurried with talent from all over the country. I'm sure at both camps. So what was the experience like for you? You could talk about Crossroads first, and then we'll go to West Coast Elite.
Oh yeah, the experience at Crossroads. Yeah, it was nothing but different players outside of the country. Yeah, we had top players from France, Brazil, top players, 3 4 stars that were from here as well. But it was just a lot of talent from everywhere. Yeah, the Team USA coach was there. It was just a lot of eyes out there watching, and everybody was performing well, but including myself. Yeah, so I performed at a high level at Crossroads, got in the top 40. I was just doing my thing over there, and they were showing nothing but love out there. So Crossroads for sure. Shout out Crossroads for sure.
Talk about West Coast Elite too. I know, did that happen recently, right?
West Coast Elite just happened recently.
Was it at the facility?
Yep, it was at PHH. It was at the facility.
Okay, when did that happen? Because I would have at least showed up and like wanted to watch a bit.
That happened like 2 weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago. 2.5 weeks ago. Oh,
so
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
Was that more Arizona based kids, or was that just kind of like Arizona and up the West Coast, California, Oregon, stuff like that? Or kind of talk about your experience there.
It was more of an all around type of thing, but it was more of like the West Coast type of players. You got players from Cali, AZ, Vegas, all that.
So you played, let's get into it too. You were on the 16U circuit or the E16, right? Because I had a guy once, I had Dallas Washington who played for the Rotary Rebels, which is like pretty much considered Seattle Rotary. some dude complained to me. He was like, they're not in the EYBL. The EYBL is only 17U. I'm like, you got these 16-year-olds are playing in probably the toughest circuit in the country. And most of these guys that are playing 16U would probably play 17U in every other circuit and every other club team. So played for Oakland Soldiers. Um, the EYBL is considered the best circuit. I've had a lot of kids on Under Armour, Adidas. I've had New Balance too. What were some takeaways you had from your experience playing with the Soldiers this past summer?
Oh, it probably the best experience. I'm not gonna lie, the best experience I've had. Um, it's definitely different than the all other circuits. You're out there playing Team Griffin, Vegas Elite, playing all these teams in front of 50 or so coaches at one time. And I mean, if you're not used to it, it's definitely an eye opener. And it will definitely like my first game against the Boozer Twins, like that was definitely an eye opener, a big eye opener, a big eye opener. Like I'm going from playing all these other kids and then go straight to playing the Night Riders. Like it's a big leap. It's a big leap. But yeah, the competition, yeah, it's very very stacked. Teammates, DeMarco Johnson, Simitri Carr, 3-star, like all these players I've played around, high level players. It was just a very enjoyable experience. Went to Peace Jam. We didn't do too well there, but it was just a very good experience. Like I definitely didn't take it for granted.
I just had Simitri's high school teammate Jace Butler on last week. But I was at the Phoenix event for the EYBL when they were here up at Legacy. And, a lot of people always talk about, oh, like, my brother plays high school football, teacher. I'm like, you might have a buddy that, like, thinks he's hot stuff just because he's getting offers. I'm like, there is thousands of other kids that are getting just the same amount of offers, but they're also 6'9" and 200 pounds and windmilling from whatever. And that E16, the E16 to me honestly seemed tougher than the 17U division, at least in the EYBL, because I know you had Cooper, you had the Boozer twins. Unity was an absolute problem with Elijah and McCoy. You guys were solid. You had the Strive for Greatness team for a bit. I don't know if they finished out the season. I heard like they were getting shut down because they sucked. That might have just been the 17U team.
Yeah.
You had just a abundance of talent with the 16U division. For you, being from out here, probably playing club ball out here for most of your teen life up until until your high school time, was it kind of eye opening for you too to see the talent level that was just kind of being in that it's everywhere. It's not just in like certain spots. They're coming from everywhere.
Oh yeah, it was definitely eye opener. Like it's like people worry about these out of states, these national rankings, but you gotta think about they have these overseas players, 15, 16, 17, in France, over here playing pro ball and all of that, or like all of the above. Australia, they got these dudes playing. They playing pro since they was 13, 14, and then they go into the higher and all that stuff, and then they coming over here not even going to college to enter their name straight in the draft and they getting picked up just like that with no other background. So yeah, people are just worrying about this. You got to worry about basketball all over the world. So you're up against all that at the same time. So and they're coming and playing on these high level circuit teams as well. So you got to go up against this on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, it was definitely an eye opener. A lot of talent, and basically like you're saying, yeah, I think E16 is way, 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 way better than 17s by far talent level. These 16U players are the real deal for sure, for sure.
To me, you play a very, like I was saying earlier, a very athletic and explosive style of basketball. You don't want to call yourself a slasher, but you have that skill in your holster whenever you want to. From the stuff I was able to watch, you love to attack the rim. You don't really seem to care who's in front of you. You're going to punch it on whoever's in front of you. If people and coaches are finding out about you for the first time right now, how would you describe your game to them?
My game, I'm just all around type of player. I don't do what's in beneficial to the team. You ask me to board, I'm gonna board. You ask me to score, I'm gonna score. You ask me to slash, I'm gonna slash. You ask me strictly defense, I'm gonna play defense. I do all of the above. There's not really one set of my game that I could really point out and say that's specifically me. I'm just an all around type of player. And for the most part, like I mean, the dunking stuff is cool. Getting to the basket is cool. Like highlight type of player type of stuff. But that's not me. I play good basketball every day. So it's not just I'm not a one dimensional type of person. So my plethora is open at all times. I can do everything, anything, and everything.
You still got what, 2 years left of high school now? You're in your junior year, right? So one of the questions I kind of want to ask too, you still got so much time left. What are some goals you have for yourself that you want to accomplish in the next 2 years?
The next 2 years, obviously, I'm getting very, very close. Trying to get to a 1,000 point season. Trying to get to a 1,000 point season for sure. 1,000 point career, and I need to get bigger. That's the main thing. I need to get bigger. The lengthy build is very good, and I use it to my advantage. But the weight is definitely for now is a thing I need to improve on. So getting bigger, getting that 1,000 point season, and try and get some of these offers in is the main thing that I have for the next 2 years that I'm just ready for.
What's the season going to look like for Skyline? Like one of my next questions is going to be like, who you most looking forward to playing against? And like we're talking about earlier, it seems like scheduling is a very like interesting thing, very like kind of quiet thing. I know like I've heard stories of teams are just like, hey, we have a game in 45 minutes, be at this location. It seems sometimes organized and sometimes not. What is the season going to look like for you guys? Are you playing in any kind of classic invitational tournaments here in the Valley? Are you guys going out of state? Is there any sort of update maybe you can give us on what the Skyline prep for the team you're going to be on is going to be or where people are going to be able to watch you for the 23-24 season?
So we're going to Texas, Chicago, and then we're going to Vegas for the Tarkanian Classic. And then we have the Compass League coming up soon. And obviously, I'm looking forward to playing AC Compass, our sister school. So that's always a good one. And based off the roster we have this year, you couldn't tell me any different. You couldn't tell me any different. I think we're capable of beating this team based off the team we have as of right now. Very solid team.
What type of would you say skill, or what's the word I'm looking for? What are the type of players you guys are going to have on this Skyline team? I'm assuming there's a lot of transfers that came in. I know Azias is one of them. He's coming over from Chandler. I've had him on. What are some players that we're going to be able to see? What type of play style are we going to see from you guys as well?
Oh, you're going to see a fast-paced team. We're not slowing down. Our practices are real fast-paced. Yeah, Zias, already that Chandler connection, that team is I already know it's going to be a good season just based off the team chemistry we have already. Like, yeah, we have Trevon, coach, all these type of players that we have on the team. Like, we have a kid from St. Louis. We have all these type of players that play their role and put a piece in, but the chemistry is like out the roof. So just us like being able to know each other outside the court, it translates. And I've already knew some of these guys even before they came here and transferred. So it makes everything a lot easier. So I feel like this season, like just based off the chemistry, and we're all great basketball players. So you put great on great, it's only gonna make us look better together. So that's just how I see it. So I feel like we're gonna have an amazing season. Amazing season. Way better than last year. Way better than last year.
It sounds like it. I'm definitely have to come and pop out to a game knowing that you guys are in Phoenix. Who are the people you see most in yourself? You talked about, since you got that 6'6" frame, being big is great, but you need to work on size. Kind of reminds me of Mikal Bridges. You talked about having that outside shot, and he's developed it, I know, from the last couple of years. It's funny with him. People didn't really, I feel like, know what type of player he was until he got traded to Brooklyn when he was the number one option. People in Phoenix knew he's been doing this since day one when he got drafted. But who are some people you see in yourself? Who are some guys you watch on film a lot, try to pick up traits and different skills?
Oh, I think that was a great comparison, Mikal Bridges. Yeah, outside shot, everything. Yeah, the ways the issue, but a player that I truly like to watch and that like I kind of look up to. Brandon Boston,
Mm.
Sierra Kane, plays for the LA Clippers. I kind of see my play style as him. I've watched him since I was a little kid, 11, 12. That's a player that I see a little bit of my game apart as of now. But I've always like took bits and pieces of his game and tried to incorporate it in mine for sure. That was one of a player I kind of look up to.
That's such an interesting take. He was a killer, at least for that one Sierra Canyon year. And then with COVID and everything happening, that Kentucky team was so bad. I thought at least he should have stayed one more year because I didn't think he was ready for the league. But he has slowly, at least I'm sure, and a lot of people, they've slowly seen him get into the rotation a bit. Also with injuries to Kawhi and PG, that helped a lot. He's probably going to be in the rotation. I'm sure they're going to want to have him, who's going to be younger, quicker, faster than like Marcus Morris. No disrespect to him, but like Marcus Morris isn't going to probably get minutes with this team. Um, what about Brandon Boston's game too? Like, got your eyes on his? Because a lot of kids I've had on, they talk about certain star players. Brandon's one that was a star in high school, hasn't really panned out as these last couple of years. But what about Brandon's game? Did you see that you were like, well, I need to start watching this guy more?
Yeah, he's more of like a bigger size, like not a huge guard, but not an undersized guard. He's like
Yeah,
a perfect sized guard, and his length, the ability, like his mid range, and his ability to get to the basket, is like just like his finesse, like it's more of like his body language and his movement, like how he gets to his shots and everything. It just
yeah,
reminds me of myself, and I've taken bits and pieces, and now like when I watch myself, I see it like a little bit of like bits and pieces of my game that I'm strong in. I can see where it comes from. Yeah, like he's not panning out as much as we see him in high school, but like he's definitely underrated, averaging like 25 in the G League on a two-way contract, blowing it out. Like he could be on any other team's roster if it wasn't for the Clippers.
yeah. I would say I totally agree with you. He could be playing for Charlotte right now. He could be playing for him in
Oh,
Orlando would be disgusting with him, Paulo, and Franz. Trying to think of
oh
who
that
he would probably play for Detroit. Like most of those lower tier teams, I could see him getting real minutes. But like you bring up too, averaging 25 in the G League, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of kids think it's the league and bust and there's nowhere else to go. There's guys that made the G League a career and have been able to stick around. Marcus Howard is one I think that I'm sure you know because his brothers own a gym here. He played in the league for a bit, bounced around the G League. Now he's an absolute star in Europe. Like you're saying too, kind of with the EYBL, there's way more options, and you got to look out for everybody, not just in your state, your city, or in the country. It's everywhere. So the fact you even brought up the G League, I think it speaks a lot of volume to me, at least, about the type of player you're wanting to become. Your eyes are more open to just seeing the stars. It's the players that you can actually pick up stuff on. But let's get into this. I had no clue Skyline was a sister school of AZ Compass Prep. I had no clue. Um,
Mr. School.
what does that mean? Are you guys connected at all? Is it like some maybe assistant coaches are now the heads at Skyline? How did that story come about? And honestly, I didn't even get to ask earlier. How did you find out about Skyline, and what was that process like for you getting into that school?
I have a trainer, Antoine. He's been with me since day one, since I was barely even able to dribble a basketball, and I was trying to get out of a situation that wasn't so well for me. And the AIA transfer rules, I go to from one situation to another. That half the season goes in straight to effect. But
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna go prep regardless. I just wanted to wait later down the road, but we had just had to speed up the process sooner or later. So we sped it up. Antoine, he knows Coach Diaz, and got a little walkthrough, showed him some of my stuff, played a couple of games. He liked what he seen. Was on the team. And the sister school thing, it's not more so coaches. Skyline was built before Compass. Compass was built after, but their schedule and their strength of schedule wasn't as good as ours. Like we were just playing CAA Open and all that for the longest, and they started getting the higher recruits. So our setup, if you come to Skyline, you'll see if you've been to Compass and you've been to Skyline, the setup is the exact same. The school, the gym, everything. So that's the sister school. So we're basically like the little bro to them. But for now, it's not gonna be like that as of this year. We're not little bros to them.
Got you. So who are you most looking forward to playing against? You talked about you guys are going Texas, Chicago, Vegas. I'm sure you'll play the Bella Vistas, the Compasses, the Dream Cities, everyone here. Is there anyone in particular you're excited to play against? Maybe give us one that from the out of state competition. You guys are gonna play, and give us one in state too.
In state, all right, Compass and all. I'm gonna lie. Out of state, we want everyone. We want everyone. We trying to make our we want everyone. It's for real. Like we want everyone. Our statement from last year, we were going out here playing these high level teams. Obviously, I was doing my part, and some of the guys that were on the team that are doing their part. But that whole senior crew, they're gone. We got the new in, and the teams that were beating us last year is no more of that with the group of guys that we have now. So any out of state team, any in-state team, but Compass in particular, because we're the sister school to them. But we want everyone. We want everyone, whoever, Bella Vista, anybody, Trinity Prep, any school. We want them all.
Compass reloaded a bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm having one of their kids on, I think, next week. But I got to see them play last year at Hoop Hall. They played IMG. And to me, I'm like, man, they got the bigs, they got the wings. And for me, I hope no one takes issue with this. They didn't have a strong guard, in my opinion. If they had Kylan, that team would have been way different. And Kylan didn't even play that much at U of A. He slowly got more minutes as the season went on. But if they had him, I mean, they would have been probably the best team in the country. I love True. I'm extremely excited he's going to New Mexico. One of their guards transferred out. He's back in his hometown. And the other one went to, I think, St. Mary's. So, like, they still are going to be doing their own thing, but a lot of guys left after their head coach left. I know their head coach went to San Jose State. I totally forget his name. I'm totally blanking on it. But I know Farrow just left, and then a lot of the seniors are gone. I think if maybe I could be wrong, I don't know what the update is. I know Victorious Miller is still there. He should be at least still there.
Yeah, he's still there.
He's still there? Okay. He's probably going to be the number one option on this team, but I know they brought in Jeremiah Fears.
Yep.
Ethan Lathan, I think his last name is. So they got some solid dudes. When that matchup happens, you're going to have to let me know because I'm excited to see that. I think it's fun to have more competition in the state, at least at the prep level, because it's just been so dominant from Compass throughout these last it seems like 4 or 5 years. But Kingston, I appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with me. How we end every show here is go-to shoe. What was the go-to shoe on the summer? What's it been heading into the season? What kind of shoes could we expect to see from you on feet for this upcoming year?
Go-to shoe. Gotta go with the Kyrie 4 lows. Gotta go with the Kyrie 4 lows. Gotta go. That was my favorite. That was my favorite. That's the go-to shoe. This upcoming season, it's gonna be a mix. You're gonna see a lot of New Balance. You're gonna see a lot of Kawhis here and there. A little bit different than what everybody else be wearing, but you're gonna see a little bit of that. You're gonna see some Kobe's. Obviously, you're gonna see the pinks. You're gonna see all those. You're gonna see everything. But yeah, me personally, my favorite is Kyrie 4 lows. You give me a pair of Kyrie 4 lows in particular, rocking.
Any specific colorway?
Any specific colorway? Oh, I got these navy blue ones in the back right now. But those ones in particular, that's my favorite colorway. They like
okay.
But Kyrie 4 lows. You gave me any Kyrie 4 lows, I'm doing my thing in those.
I got one hoop shoe. I sold everything when I stopped playing for a couple of years. I had the Kobe 9 What the Highs. I had the Kyrie 2 USAs, Curry 3 birthdays, but I sold them all. All I have left now, the 36 low, I think, the Luka. It's like that bright blue with the pink and green. Honestly, probably one of the most comfortable basketball shoes I've ever put on, though. Like, that's the one Tatum was wearing all year last year. But yeah, Kingston, I appreciate you coming on, chopping it up with us, though. As we finish up, anything to shout out before we get out of here?
Shout out Skyline. Shout out West Coast Elite, Pangos, Dinos, all them. Shout out yourself too. Thank you just for having me on here and able to just speak my mind and speak how this upcoming season is gonna go.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm very, very interested to see how Skyline's going to go and kind of just the rest of the AAA. I know I've been pumping content out about what teams to watch, what players to watch, and hopefully people take notice to you because, I mean, your game is one of the best in the state, at least for your age and what you're about to do. So I'm very excited and interested to see how you play and continue to evolve as a player. But that is it. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Make sure to follow and subscribe to us on whatever platforms I'm on. I'm on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. So make sure to subscribe to us there. This was episode 6 of the Off the Court podcast.